See, don't be a dabbler in life.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be a dabbler. See it all the way through.
Yeah.
Being a dabbler, you're not gonna, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's not gonna last, right?
I'm not a dabbler. Greg, are you a dabbler?
I can be.
You can be a dabbler.
Okay.
No more dabbling. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brick by Brick, the community podcast where we build community one conversation at a time, brick by brick. And today I have returning guest, Riaz Surti. Man, thanks for making the time. I always appreciate our conversations, and I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much. I had a great time last time, and glad to be back.
I love our conversations. Even last time we had coffee, I just feel like I walk away. I think that's what's important. Like, there's that saying, you don't remember what people said, you remember how they made you feel. And I always walk away from our conversations feeling really good. So I appreciate that about you.
Well, likewise.
So you've been traveling.
I've been traveling. You know, I was in Hong Kong. I was in Thailand, Bangkok, and I was in Luang Prabang, which is in Laos.
This episode of Brick by Brick is brought to you by Healthy Foods. Go to healthyfoods.com and use promo code BRICK at the checkout and save 50% off your order today. They're the best single ingredient supplements out there at the best price. So go to healthyfoods.com, get a great product while supporting your community podcast. What's the best place?
I think each city has its own personality, or every city has its own personality, and I think Hong Kong, it's a city that's, it has a lot of character, very gritty, it has a lot of multiculturalism, right? Okay, and when I arrived there, I went to this one Indian restaurant, okay, that was like in the back, like, I had to go through like alleyways and stairs and to reach this little restaurant. It has 6,000 reviews, and it was like maybe the size of this room here, like a size of a RV, I guess. Okay, and delicious food. Okay, so and then we went to different museums and different temples, and we also saw an old mosque that was there for 100 years, right? So, and the one thing I realized is how like the city, it has different stages. You have the British era. Now you have the pseudo-Chinese British, pseudo-Chinese area, and then 10 years, I think it's going to be fully controlled by China, right? So it's a really beautiful city. Any city that interplays with water makes it beautiful. And
what do you mean?
Like what I mean, like for example, like L.A. and we have the Pacific Ocean, right? So okay, and then Vancouver or any city that connects to like Chicago. There's you got the river, the lakes, and they're involved. So any city that interplays with water, it makes it beautiful, I think, Yeah. Okay, as opposed to say like, no offense to Little Rock, Arkansas, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Okay, so any city that has like water, like New York, London, these places. So and then I went to Bangkok, okay, and Bangkok it reminded me of Dubai, so developed, so many shopping centers, so many name brands, all the favorite European and American designer clothing stores, restaurants, okay, and then I did go visit this museum called the Jim Thompson Museum. It was a house museum, and he was famous for he was called the Silk King, okay, and I went to his house, okay, and he had a lot of relics from say 1,000 years ago, Buddhist statues that he recovered, right? And what Jim Thompson did was he made silk famous. Okay, it was like a thing and that wasn't like had value until he came in and basically he got it on this really famous movie called The King and I. Okay, and so.
Did they make a cartoon out of that too? I think
they did. I don't know, but it was Yul Brynner. It was a very famous movie back in the '60s, and anyhow, he was just he basically took a commodity that was like undervalued, okay, and it talked about the value of this product, right, and then became very wealthy, and what's interesting is that like in his house, he had Robert Kennedy at his house, right? And he had all these famous dignitaries, and he really brought silk back and became national pride for Thailand. And then what's interesting about him, he passed away. No, he died mysteriously in 1968 or 67. Right, you just don't know what happened to him. Like he went to Malaysia, and they can't find his body, and he's just gone. So that was interesting to see that museum, to see his work, right?
Well, and silk was like a big trading commodity, right?
It was.
Probably, wasn't it like the Silk Road or something?
Yeah, well, it was a I guess Marco Polo time, I guess, right? But I think what happened was silk was mainly just one color, but he's the one that did the prints, so that's what made him famous, right? He did, and what he did, he used a lot of this community called the Cham community, which is a minority in Vietnam, Thailand, and that whole area, and they're basically Muslim people from the country of Cham or the society of Cham. And what's interesting about the Cham community is that you can't, they don't want to be called Vietnamese, they don't want to be called Thailand. Like calling American Indians Americans. You know what I mean? Like, they're actually they're native Indians, right? So they're like native to the land, or Cham. So, and they have a sizable Cham community in LA, by the way. And then the last country, I went to Luang Prabang, which is really amazing. I was just telling.
Where's that?
It's in the country of Laos. Okay, and what's remarkable about that was first, there's no real American tourism that go there, right? Okay, so we had to take a small commuter plane, a small plane, maybe about 10 people on the plane, and we land at the airport, and we're walking the runway to go to the airport, and we get to the customs, and there's a guy who looks at your passport and he's wondering why you're here, kind of thing, and then he stamps it. Okay, and then we had and we stayed at a really nice hotel, and they had picked us up from the airport. Okay, with my name on the little paper, and I get into his car, I get to the airport, and it's like a really beautiful hotel, and I think we were the only guests there. It was kind of interesting, but it was like so inexpensive, almost like $25 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, that included a free pickup. Okay, included a beautiful hotel room, included laundry, included breakfast, and
wow.
Okay, and then we just and I saw firsthand what China is doing in these countries, how they're putting a lot of investment into countries, and they have something called the Belt Road Initiative, okay, which is basically like soft power, and it's like giving aid, but with a transaction, with something in return. And what makes Laos a very interesting place is that it's a breadbasket country, which means that they produce everything there, right? Okay, so like I had coffee that morning, and the coffee beans must have been grown maybe just a few miles away where I was staying at, and I had fresh rice. I never had fresh rice before. How good tasting rice was. Okay,
interesting.
Okay, and then I had and sugar that was grown maybe a few miles away, like just granulated sugar. Like it was actually brown sugar, right? So, and then I had eggs that weren't even refrigerated, because they don't pasteurize over there. So I had fresh eggs, and it was just delicious food. And the remarkable thing was, like, say a latte would cost 50 cents. Okay, and it's just as good as lattes you will see over here, right? And but fresh coffee bean, and it's just really remarkable how good the food tasted, right? Okay, and another thing I noticed about Luang Prabang was how like dogs and cats are friendly. They'll come up to you, and so I asked one of the shopkeepers, why is that? And he said that the dogs and cats are like part of society. Okay, it's part of the community. So there's no everyone takes care of them. Okay, so it's almost like, so there's like, I feel like, those dogs in America, like they see another dog, they bark at it, right? So
right.
Okay, and over there it's just part of integrated with society. So there's like
they're civilized dogs.
Civilized
Even
dogs.
the dogs are civilized.
And the one thing I realized about Luang Prabang is how well they treat children there. The children they're very, very it's like almost like a village. They're all raising the kids together, and you see how like there's trees for them to climb, and then when kids are walking, you can see they're protective of them, Okay, and so they treat children very well there, which I thought was really touching. And then I got some massages, Thai massage, I think it was called, Thai massage, and I think I paid maybe like $3 for an hour Thai massage. Oh. Okay, and it was like maybe $2 for the tip, Okay, so it was just amazing, and there were a lot of Australians there, a lot of Chinese there, and no U.S. or Western people were there.
What do you take away from those experiences? Like when you come back to the States, like what does it make you feel when you come back here?
I mean, first I feel sad about America a little bit, right? Because like over there, like like in whether it be in Hong Kong, whether it be in Bangkok, whether it be in Luang Prabang, like the public spaces are taken care of. Okay, so for example, like if you use a bathroom in in Thailand, okay, I mean they're pretty clean, and they're not graffitied, they're not destroyed, right? So there's a respect for community rights or community property, right? So I thought that was really nice. And the second thing is I like the fact that there is a sense of like development that's like when I was in Hong Kong, the trains run on time. Okay, there's no like people jumping the line to not pay for their fare, right? There's a lot of like technology there that kind of explains, okay, this train is going to this spot, okay, and there's like maps where the train is going to, right? I take trains everywhere when I travel, right? Okay, and even in LA I take the MTA, okay, and just how clean they were. It's just really endearing in some way.
But why do you think that is?
I think it's like in America it's about individual rights. Okay, I think, okay, and about in those countries it's about community rights. Okay, and I think and part of it is maybe the legal system is about justice, making sure that one innocent person is not in jail. Okay, they'd rather have I'd rather have 100 people guilty than one innocent person be in jail. Right? Okay, so okay, and over there, I think it's about community rights. If you drop gum or you graffiti something, you really do something against society. Okay, and I think from that mindset, it's a cultural mindset that society rights are very important. Okay, and I think it could be partly stemmed from their Buddhist background, I guess. So, but I think that's really what, and it also stems out there's some sort of accountability. Okay, perhaps.
Yeah, it sounds great, but I could see the flip side of that. It seems a little authoritarian.
Yeah.
Right? I think there's a benefit in like the individual rights focus, but it is funny how it's weird how it almost seems like those two things are incompatible. The emphasis on individual rights, but still having like the sense of community. I think that's what everyone kind of strives for. But the more I hear, I don't travel very often. I've only been to like certain parts of Eastern Europe. But there is a distinct difference. I think traveling is great for anybody to just gain perspective, and makes you look at your world a little differently. Right?
Well, I think traveling makes you a better person because you begin to realize that people are people no matter what color they are or what nationality they are or what religion they are. So it's and also you see, but there's something beautiful when you look at a waterfall, when you see a beautiful tree, or when you see like multiculturalism, in a way that's where everyone is included. There's something beautiful about that.
Yeah, but there's also the flip of like everything being so cheap in some of these places. I mean, I think those people are earning. What is like the standard of living in most of these places?
It's not. You're right. I mean, it depends where I go. Like in Hong Kong, it was. I mean, I would say stuck in the 80s and 90s. It was a lot of investment then. And then when 1997, when the British handed over Hong Kong to China, I think a lot of money left. Okay, and people are hesitant to invest. So for our standard of living, I think it's I think it's stuck in the 90s. Like in terms of like, okay. And I saw like taxi cabs that were like Toyota from 1990s. Okay. And then as far as Thailand, they export a lot. Okay, and they also do a lot of tourism. So I stayed at one of the best hotels I ever stayed at. Okay, and I usually travel by points. So I was able to get really good deals on the Hyatt, the Marriott, those type of hotels, right? And one thing I did like about it, how like they have walkways, okay, bridge walkways connecting all the buildings and all the shopping centers together, which I really thought was nice. Okay, and I was staying at more of the the center of the city where there's a lot of malls and stuff like that. So, okay, and then but as far as like the standard of living in Luang Prabang, it was like I asked somebody how much the rent is for a room there. He said about $20 a month, okay, in dollars, right? Okay, and so and I remember like 100,000 kit is $1, okay, and so I could buy a latte for 50, for half. I mean for my price would be $1.50, okay, and then so a kit would get you like 100,000 kit would be $1, so. But I think it was pretty low standard of living. You know, I mean, medium standard of living, but low cost to live there, right? Okay, so and then I had Indian food, I had Chinese food, I had steaks, had everything you can imagine, and then they had a night market that we walked around. It was really nice, good food, good quality.
So you went with your son, yeah?
I went with my son and my niece.
Okay. So was this a pleasure or business or a mix? Is it always a mixture?
I always travel for two reasons, right? Okay, one is I always look for opportunities to do business. Okay, and one of the reasons I went to China, specifically Hong Kong, is I wanted to look at some machinery for our business to buy machinery I could print bags and bring it to the U.S. and start manufacturing. Okay, my own bags. Okay, and it's so I think the machines will cost maybe about $250,000, right? But I think I could save $250,000 a year making my own bags.
Yeah, and that actually brings up good. This episode is sponsored by Healthy Foods. Single ingredient supplements. Get your Healthy Foods today. Use promo code BRICK. I should have you do the promo while you're here. Yeah, man. Speaking of which, thank you for sponsoring the podcast.
Oh, my pleasure.
I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think what you do is really important. And I think how you do it's even more important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's always really cool when friends help each other succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And because I mean, really, you could advertise anywhere,
mm-hmm.
and like it's always about the ROI from the business lens.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I pulled from our conversation is really important, that it's not just like, oh yeah, I want to reach all your viewers, because it's still a very small channel. But I think it's investing in people, and
mm-hmm.
you talk about that a lot, and also what the message is, and kind of just being a part of it and seeing it grow. It's kind of like the entrepreneur spirit. Like
mm-hmm.
I see it almost more as like a investment in what it's becoming. And I think about the people that watch the podcast. And I was just telling Greg, and Greg's behind the
mm-hmm.
producer desk today. Mm-hmm. Say hi, Greg.
Hello.
I was telling him earlier, I went to a liquor store right here on South and Bellflower. And I was talking to the young man. He helps his father out. They own the liquor store,
mm-hmm.
and he helps his father out. And he always asks about the podcast. And he's always like, "Hey man, when's the next episode? I really
mm-hmm.
like it." His name's Jonathan, and I was like, "It's going well. It's always up and down. It's a lot of work. That people really don't see all the editing and posting. It takes a lot of time." So I was just telling him it's a lot of work. And he's like, "Man, keep doing it." He's like, "Because one of those views is always me, and I really get a lot out of it."
Mm.
So for me, like that, motivated me. Right after that conversation, that's when I texted you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Hey, we should do it," because it made me, I had like not an epiphany, but I realized like having you on the podcast, I'm kind of inviting you into talk to the people that are around me in my life,
mm-hmm.
that I care about. Jonathan being one of them,
mm-hmm.
one of many. I'm like, I want Jonathan to hear from you, because I get so much out of our conversations. And I think that especially like for him, small business, helping out his dad, like very family oriented. I'm like, he's going to get something out of what you have to say today.
Yeah, well, it goes back to how how knowledge is spread, right? Okay,
Right.
and I think I think a lot of people. I mean, the good thing about living in this era, knowledge is available, right? So okay, and you don't know who you're affecting, and you might be in circles that I'll never reach.
Right.
Okay, so that's good.
Speaking of which, you've been posting some things on your gram.
Mm-hmm.
You've been doing more speaking engagements, and you're kind of like, it almost looks like you're on tour.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done quite a few amount of podcasts, right? Okay, and a lot of them are related to business, okay, and business advice, and then also my personal story, right? Okay, and I think a lot of the feedback I'm getting is that people are there's like I try to be very sincere when I speak. And I want to make sure that that there's they have something that they can relate to, because usually when you're sincere, you kind of shine automatically, right? So I just try to keep it real and try to keep it honest, okay, and especially like some of the challenges I've had, right? Okay, and people say, yeah, I've been through that too, or thank you for sharing that, like. And I'll give you an example, like family conflicts and how to deal with that, right? Okay, especially in business, right? Or like how do you deal with issues of capital? How do you overcome that when you don't have capital, right? So, and then but a lot of it is I think when I do these podcasts, it really gives me a lot of it's very gratifying for me to help a lot of people that way.
Yeah. What do you enjoy talking about the most? Like that you feel like, oh yeah, this is my.
Well, I think I like the underdog story a lot of ways. I think my business journey is really the underdog story. Okay, and so I like that part of it. Okay, I like the idea of like overcoming problems, overcoming challenges. I like the idea of when someone says to me after I spoke, he said, "And that really affected me, like
Yeah.
your friend Jonathan, right?"
Yeah.
Okay, and to hear that, because I think growing up, I grew up, where it was like there wasn't many mentors. So okay, so for me to be a mentor for someone and pay it forward, that's very very gratifying for me.
Yeah. And you give me the because last time we spoke on the pod, we were talking more about like local politics and
Yep.
kind of like campaigns and stuff.
Right.
But give me the summary of the underdog story.
Oh, okay. I remember when I was 16 years old, I was failing high school, okay, and I told my dad, I need help, and my dad said, well, go get a job at KFC, okay, and maybe that'll motivate you to work harder in school, okay. And I think his expectation was maybe that I'd be scared straight,
Right.
And then so I get the job at KFC, and I end up loving the job. Okay, and then around 2 years later, I became assistant manager. And then I heard the franchisee was selling that restaurant, so I told my dad, "Can you please buy the restaurant for me?" And my dad was a CPA, and he looked at the books, and he said it's a pretty good business. And he bought the franchise. Okay, and then a month later, my father passes. Okay, and he paid the 10% down for the loan, right? And I had 9% more to pay, and then I just realized that I just knew that no one's going to save me financially, because like when you use your patriarch, you use a family, your father, right? It's really becomes it becomes like a free fall in some way, right? So, and then I remember I hired a contractor, and in order, like, one of the things about this restaurant, you had to remodel the restaurant, part of the process of buying the restaurant, this KFC. And I remember giving the first deposit to the contractor, and then the contractor taking the money and running with it, right? And I was 18. My father had passed away. My mother was like really, really in shambles, I guess. Okay, and so I just saw the look on my mother's face. I just knew that no one was going to save me. There's no plan B. This is it. Okay, and so that's what happened. Okay, and then from that, I bought a second restaurant, my third restaurant, my fourth restaurant. I had a Taco Bell. Okay, and then with KFC, I got disenfranchised with them because they're changing the recipe. Okay, and I thought that was a really big mistake. Okay, so
I didn't change in the recipe.
They just they had a winning formula, right? Where they're making fresh biscuits, cutting cabbage, making fresh chicken, right? So they felt like they can make more money by bringing everything frozen, freezer to fry your products, right? Okay, and I thought that was really, at that time around 2003, 2004, like that's when Subway had Eat Fresh campaign. That's when Chipotle was coming out, making fresh food, right? And I thought that was a big mistake. And so around 2005, I sold the restaurants, right? And I sold at the peak of the economy. So and I remember my mother saying, "You're making a lot of money. Are you sure you want to sell?" I said, "I don't believe in KFC anymore." Okay, I remember that. Okay, and then 10 years later, those same KFC I used to own, they're all bankrupt. They all something else. Either they're Seven Leaves or Waba Grill. And someone told me, "Do you think fried chicken's dead?" I said, "No, fried chicken's not dead. It's KFC just made miscalculations, because look at Chick-fil-A, look at Cane's, look at Dave's Hot Chicken, even Wingstop. Fried chicken is still alive."
Yeah. Do you think a lot, because I feel like if you ever drive down Candlewood, there's
Mhm.
like 5 different chicken spots.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's kind of like a void left by KFC? Because KFC used to be the chicken spot. So it's like as they decline, someone's going to fill the space.
No doubt. I think if you look at like Dave's Hot Chicken,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just took chicken strips and made it. Their hook is just different level of spices. Okay,
Yeah.
and a very simple menu, right? Even Cane's Hot Chicken, just tenders.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, and then Chick-fil-A, same thing. It just made it very, very simple, but it's branding. It came down to branding. It came down to like keep everything fresh and grilling it. I mean, making it quickly, right? Okay, and then I think that's what it came down. Even KFC was so late to coming up with a chicken sandwich. So Popeyes and Chick-fil-A,
Right.
so that's pretty common knowledge, right? So I think what happened with KFC, it was the owner. I mean, it was the president of KFC. It was President Yum, I think it was, and he was he kind of destroyed 2 brands. He's destroyed KFC and Pizza Hut. 'Cause,
Yeah.
and
Pizza went downhill too.
yeah, because it's the same, and the same, lowering the quality, increase, making more profit, right? And so I remember back in the day, I used to go to Pizza Hut. I used to go to the restaurant, okay, and it'd be like red tablecloth, and you
Yeah.
order pizza and be family dining, right? That's the pizza that I grew up with, right? Okay, so like that was the really good pizza back then, right? It's like
Yeah.
you go in there after the baseball game, and you go watch. Okay, you can go have a whole team dinner there, right? So I think they really miscalculated and try to like maximize profit, and I think that was a big mistake.
So you kind of use that when because you have your own business, and there's probably a lot of opportunities for you to do the same thing, right? Cut cost, increase profit. So do you kind of reflect on those lessons when dealing with your business now?
Yeah, with Hearthy Foods, my goal is to have high quality, okay, for everyone. Okay, so to offer like the best quality of products, okay, and at the best prices as well, right? So and so like we have like collagen, grass-fed collagen, we have micronized creatine, we have grass-fed cholesterol, grass-fed bone broth, right? Okay, all single ingredients, no fillers, no additives, just one ingredient. And my goal is to in fact, the packaging is white, black and white, because I want to reflect that there's only one single ingredient in there, very clean label products, right? So and but to be honest with you, I think if I remember I went to this one hair salon in Garden Grove, right? Okay, and it was a Vietnamese guy that owned this hair salon, and he was the only one that was busy. Okay, and I remember I asked an owner of the company, "How come you're so busy? You have a mixed crowd. You have everyone here, not just Vietnamese, but you have everyone here, right?" And he said that when you're good, you don't need to advertise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when you're not that good, you have to do a lot of marketing.
Right.
Okay, so
What stage would you say Hearthy Foods is at right now?
I think we're still a young brand. Okay, we've been around. I started doing supplements in 2020. Okay, initially started off as a flour company, right? So, but I think we're getting some traction. We're number 1 seller of gelatin in America, and number 1 seller of agar-agar, which is vegan gelatin. We're top 10 on creatine. We're maybe top 80 and 100 on collagen, right? So, and we're also a halal brand. So we're the leading halal brand in the U.S. And
What does that mean?
halal is basically Islamic kosher in a nutshell, right? And it takes in consideration animal welfare and the slaughtering of that product. So collagen comes from bovine, gelatin our gelatin comes from bovine, from cows, right? So they're slaughtered in a way that takes in consideration animal welfare.
Interesting. So all your products?
All my product, and most of my customers are not halal consumers.
Right.
So 99% of my customers are not halal. I only did halal for my own personal preference.
Really? That's probably one of those things where it probably is more expensive to do it that way, maybe, or less convenient to source it that way.
Yeah, it's a little bit, but I mean, initially, if you would ask me 20 years ago, that's correct, yeah. But I think halal is becoming the international standard. So like if you go to Costco, I just found out just a couple of days ago. If you go to Costco, all the rotisserie chickens in Canada are halal. Okay, so they just find it to be, or like if you go to certain places in LA, like mainstream restaurants, if you see any meats coming from Australia or New Zealand, they're all halal. Okay, and I think because these countries, it's becoming an international marketplace. Okay, so it's a lot easier to add the halal standard to their products because they can open up themselves to bigger marketplaces. And so, like, if you go to like Hi Ho Burger, which is they have 4 or 5 stores in LA, okay, and they have grass wagyu burgers from Australia, New Zealand, and they're all halal. So in a lot of ways, like, and what made our KFCs really stand out back in the 90s and 2000 is when I was doing halal. I was cutting my own halal chicken, okay, from my own facility and bringing it to my own restaurants, and so people were coming to our restaurants because we had the highest volume restaurants in LA, and the reason why we did so well is because I was cutting my own chicken, okay, bringing it in, and people were saying, "What is this amazing chicken at Taco Bell?" Okay, and then so a lot of ways, when KFC told me to discontinue the halal food program, and also change the recipe, that was like my sign to leave, and thank God I did because it's really telling what happened to KFC.
Yeah, it's probably hard, right? Especially if you know your ideas better when you're franchising, you're kind of under the thumb, right?
Yeah, it was really a major conflict, and I remember I remember talking to KFC and telling them that you have halal overseas. How come you don't do halal here, right? And we're talking about like 2005, 2000, and this is right. And this tied into like, I mean, I think it's kind of maybe pre-internet, maybe. Okay, so like, okay, and pre-cell phone in a way. And I think there was and to be honest with you, I think KFC their headquarters is in Louisville. Yum headquarters is in Louisville. Okay, and I think they were at a disadvantage being in a small city. So that's why because you have a brain drain, you don't have like the biggest talent. So like McDonald's is in Chicago, right? Okay, so that's now you understand why KFC moved to Dallas. It's because they're looking for better talent. Okay, so what happened was they had corporate executives that were working at KFC that were subpar in a lot of ways, right? Okay, so one of the reasons why like if you see big corporations, they're always in big cities, okay, because they want to get the best talent.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. How many employees do you have?
I have 15 employees.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And where do you see, what age would you say Herthy Foods is? If it was a person, is it like in its teen years? And
oh, good. I think we're still a teenager, right?
Yeah.
But what makes Herthy Foods interesting is we're mainly a direct-to-consumer brand, right? Okay, I am, and I think the dream is always to sell your company for a lot of money, right? So okay, and what's happening nowadays is that most big corporations, big brands, they don't have the ability to innovate like small brands do, right? So okay, and what they're looking for is a brand that has a big online following. Okay, and so that's really my strategy is to be an online brand, to grow it, okay, and to be direct to consumer, right? And I'm using Amazon as my vehicle to do that, right? Okay, so we're in Amazon Canada, we're in Amazon Mexico, we're in Amazon US, and we're going to Amazon UK, okay, and then
wait, there's different Amazons?
They're all Amazon, but it's just different marketplaces. Okay, so it's still the same company, right? But there's different regulations involved in taking your products to those places, right? Okay, so with Amazon Mexico, like rather than make everything in the U.S. and ship it, I'll manufacture in Mexico. So everything will be a complete. So I don't have to worry about customs and stuff like that, right? And then with Amazon US, I ship Amazon Canada, I ship it to Canada, right? So okay, and then when I get into Amazon UK, okay, I'll be able to just source locally, manufacture, and produce there, right? So it's I mean, Amazon is a winning team. You get 1 billion customers a week, so you're not going to beat them. So I find that to be a great funnel for our own brand, for our own website. Yeah.
So doing all the traveling and having such a mind for business, do you see, obviously, like when you're taking care of a teenager and you're like growing it to what it will be, you have to probably, especially when you're an entrepreneur minded person, not get distracted and be like, oh, there's an opportunity there. You probably see opportunities in a lot of places. What do you think is like one opportunity that you think is like ripe for the picking, but like you're obviously not going to do it, but like somebody needs to do that here because it's going to be big?
Well, our business strategy is really simple. It'd be a value equation, okay? And so I look at products that have high demand, and be the value solution for that. Okay, so like for example, creatine is a high demand product, right? So it'd be the value option for that. Okay, so or even like things like zinc, or magnesium. Okay, those are commodities in the end, right? Okay, so if I could offer you the same quality at a lower price. Okay, so there's other brand, even whey protein. Whey protein, there is some sort of connection between like, the brand I take and my own self worth. Okay, so like I
Right.
take the gold standard brand, right? So, but my goal is to even bring price of whey protein down. Whey protein is like $80 for 2 pounds or something. So I sell 2 pounds for $50, right? So, but even bring the price down more. So like, my goal is to like commodify BCAAs, L-arginine, because those products they don't care if it's has watermelon flavor, blueberry flavor. They just care. They just want arginine, right? Or they want creatine. Okay, so that's one reason why I just kept it very simple, single ingredients, the lowest price possible. And if you want to add, a different flavor to your creatine, you can. So
Right. How many hours a week do you work?
I work about 30 hours a week, to be honest with you. Not a
Really?
lot. Yeah, not a lot.
I was
Yeah.
expecting it. I was expecting
No.
like 60 or something.
I think part of it is I call it eliminate yourself policy, like, which means like, I do things that I really love. Okay, so I don't, before, when I first started the company, I was doing shipping, and I'll be cutting, mailing boxes and doing the advertising, marketing, right? Okay, and so like, but what that does, it doesn't allow your team members to grow, your team to grow, right? Okay, so like the people that work for me, they're all like been around me from the very beginning, right? Even from my KFC days. I had one employee from my KFC days
Really?
working with me, right? So, and so like, so part of it, I just eliminate myself. I eliminate from that job, and then try to get someone else who could do that job. Again, I try to focus on things I really enjoy, right? Which is business development, okay, strategy, and finance.
What do you see in people is like the marker for like somebody you want to invest in employee wise?
Yeah, I look at passion. They have to have. They may not have the knowledge, but the passion. They really care about their job, right? And the one thing I find that's really important is to like to ask your employees, what are your dreams? What do you what do you want in your life? Okay, and then they'll tell me what it is, right? And also let's try to achieve that together. Okay, so and then what that is, it's called buy-in. You want to get people to buy in. And the main thing I look for is they care for the company. Okay, and I look for people who I don't need to motivate. They're already self-motivated.
Yeah.
And I think what happens a lot in jobs, and especially like, if you're a cashier somewhere, you're not motivated because you feel like there's no future there for you.
Right.
Okay, but my goal in my company is to make sure that people, that we pay well, okay, and we provide, good culture there, right? Okay, and ultimately like give them the opportunities to grow.
Yeah. That's it's kind of like a common criticism, right? Like this new generation, they don't want to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you buy into that? Do you think that's a thing?
I think fundamentally humans are humans, okay,
Yeah.
and so fundamentally, right? So like, but I do know like, I think ultimately like we just hired someone recently, right? Okay, and I told him, my goal is to give you a good life. That's my goal, right? Okay, and then he just started off as a just operating some of the machines that we have to pack our products, right? Okay, and then I asked him if you've been to a Rams game before. He said, I've never been to any sporting games, So I have season tickets for the Rams. I said, go to the next game. I'm going to, and you can
They're
see
playing tomorrow, right?
they're playing tomorrow in Atlanta, but I think they're playing the Phoenix Cardinals. Is it Arizona Cardinals? Arizona Cardinals in a couple of
Yeah.
weeks, right? In case I give him my tickets for that.
Oh, nice.
And he's an 18-year-old kid, right? Okay, and then we had a Christmas party, right? And I would ask, what are your dreams? What's your best childhood memory? And I asked them, who's your best friend, right? So like, just to get to know, and well, we all talk about it, right? So like one person said, my best friend is, one said this other employee that works here, right? oh, that's my best friend. And then another one said, you're my best friend, Riaz, right? So I was like really touched by that. And then I asked like another person, like, what's your favorite childhood memory? And he said that. So something that really like took me aback. He said, seeing my mother for the first time in 15 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said, wow, tell me more. He said, it's too complicated. I said,
Right.
okay, I left out that, right?
Right.
And then, but stuff like that. So you don't know what people are going through. But I think ultimately, like, and this is I think the ultimate business philosophy is that what you want for yourself is what you want for your brother.
Right.
Yeah.
So being in business for so long and being successful, do you think having wealth, money brings you any closer to happiness, or do you think it pulls you further away?
Well, I think money is an amplifier in a lot of ways, right? It amplifies who you really are. Okay, so if you're a greedy, selfish person, it only amplifies who you really are. Greedy and selfishness, right?
So it's like alcohol.
Yes,
Right?
yeah, like alcohol.
You were a jerk before you got drunk.
That's right. So yeah, you're right. So I think, but there are a lot of people. I know a lot of very successful, wealthy people who are sad.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I think fundamentally, I think happiness is really something that's internal. It can't be. You can't outsource it. You have to self-generate your own happiness, right? And I'll give an example. Like there's a very famous Persian poet named Rumi, and he said that don't let your own thoughts destroy you. Like it's your own thoughts that destroy your own happiness. So part of it is just how you view the world, and how you process things, right? So they say that you can't have a positive life with a negative mind.
Right. What's your worldview?
I think my worldview is that I think because I've been traveling a lot, right? Okay, so if you judge the world based on what's happening on your phone, it becomes very dark and jaded, right? But if you look outside the window of your car, your house, or just outside the airplane window, the world's very beautiful, right? So in some way, like my worldview is that there's a lot of hope in this world. There's a lot of positive developments happening. There's a lot of good things happening in this world, right? Okay, and especially when I was in Luang Prabang, this little boy I saw, right? Okay, and the way he was taking care of his dog, that was very, very, very beautiful. Okay, so just giving dog water. Okay, I thought it was really, really nice. So my worldview is very optimistic. I think that I think there's a lot to be happy about. I think the key is just is how you process information.
When you do go through times where you're not in that mindset, or you're falling away from it, what do you do to recenter yourself?
Well, I mean, well, first of all, I had a little bit of a challenge, right? Okay, and just recently, and I started thinking about the positives first. Okay, so I mean, it might be like 2 or 3 negatives, maybe. And you're like, everyone is going through something like really personal, really deep, right? Okay, and so and no matter what, you're gonna get tested in life, right? So everyone, whether you, me, we all have some sort of deep challenge we're facing, right? So the key really is that focus on the solution, don't focus on the problem. So I know this is the problem I'm having. What's the solution, right? Okay, and I'll give you an example. Like I knew somebody that was in a bad marriage for 30 years. Okay, and imagine having the same problem for 30 years.
Right.
How miserable that is, right? Okay, so I have a philosophy that the way you're making progress in life is you have new problems. If you have the same problem over and over again, year after year after year, that's pretty miserable in life.
Yeah. When I owned a gym in Lakewood for about 10 years, on top of my door it said no problems, no profit. So it's kind of the same idea. Like you just don't want to keep running into the same problem, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? What's a problem that you have or have had like more recently?
Well, I think the problem I guess I learned not it kind of seems simple, but not everyone's your friend. That kind of thing. So that's one. Okay, and then I think we make the fallacy that you expect everyone to be like you. Okay?
Right.
Okay, so that's part of it. Okay, but I think the key really is that I think the root of all problems try to if when you're jealous of somebody else, and when you try to live in the past.
Yeah.
That's the recipe for disaster, right? So to answer your question, what problem I've had, I think part of it is that, and in a business you go through we have issue of production. We can't pack it fast enough, so we keep running out of stock on Amazon and we keep running stock in other marketplaces we're in, right? So that's kind of painful because what happens is, then your competitors.
That's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to, yeah. But it's also painful because, first you lose revenue, right? Okay.
Right.
And then because we have certain targets we want to achieve, right? Okay. And I feel awful when I don't achieve those targets, right? Okay. Because of production problems, right? Okay. Production, the ability to produce fast enough, right? And I think also, like, for example, when we started selling creatine, I was expecting to sell maybe 30,000 a month, maybe, okay, on the high end, but we sold over 50 to 100,000 a month, okay, units, right? Okay, so we're talking units, and my capacity is about 120,000 units across the board for all my products, right? Okay, so investing in new machines, and especially what happened with the tariffs to China with the bags, right? We couldn't get our bags.
Are those affecting you a lot?
That affected us because, it's just, the people, the cost to buy bags from China was a lot more expensive, right? So what happened was some of my Chinese bag manufacturers are moving to Mexico and doing production in Mexico. Okay,
Don't they have tariffs too, though?
No, not as much.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it's like 50 to 70% in China.
Yeah.
To like 10% in Mexico, right? So.
Yeah.
So I think so. There's a similar shift.
Why not? I mean, isn't the whole the theory behind it is to bring production to
the U.S.
The U.S. But is that the 10% that you would pay on, say, Mexico, having it in Mexico, is probably still a lot less than the cost it would be to build here?
Yeah, I think. I mean, we're talking about a greater economic by U.S. because what U.S. did, they basically they became a service economy, okay, service, right. And so as opposed to a manufacturing economy, right? So, right. Okay, and so I think a lot of ways, what China did was because of the void that U.S. went away from manufacturing, they became the manufacturing of the world, right? So, okay, and also when I was in Hong Kong and I saw a lot of I think the big thing is in China and U.S. In China, the politicians are engineers, and the U.S. the politicians are lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
I forgot what the percentage was, but it's a lot.
Okay, so when you have and often in politics, sometimes it's about personal interests as well as corporate interests, right? So so in China, I think they did a good job and they're building roads and infrastructure, right? Okay, and manufacturing. Okay, in fact, there's a car called BYD, which is the Chinese electric car, and it's a lot cheaper than any American electric car and much more luxurious. But they're not allowing those cars to come to the U.S. But I did see those cars in China, which was fantastic.
Yeah, what do they look like?
They look like a cross between a BMW and a Kia, I guess, right? Beautiful cars, really luxurious, right? Okay, and they're all electric. Okay, and one of them had a drone on top of the car.
Drone.
A drone, yeah. So interesting.
What's the drone for?
So you know how every car has a camera, in front. Yeah. Okay, so you just press this button, okay, and a drone will come out top of the roof of the car.
Oh, is that the car?
Yeah, see it coming out.
Yeah.
But remember, cool. This is first generation.
Yeah.
Imagine 10 generations from now. Look at the iPhone, first generation iPhone to now.
My thought on anything first generation, I've grown to learn, it's going to suck, but you're investing in second generation by buying first generation.
Absolutely.
So I think of that with the robots, the Omna droid things.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be priced at 20,000, 30,000 or something. It's pretty reasonable. I'll probably get one for sure and I know it's going to suck. I'm not going to think it's going to be great. It'll probably fold laundry or something. But
look at the AI glasses. AI,
yeah.
AI glasses.
I bought the first generation. They were terrible.
Yeah.
And then now on the third generation, I like them a lot. But if not enough people bought the first generation, well, then you don't get to the good stuff, right? So you're consuming, but you're also investing.
Yeah.
That's how I think of technology in general.
Well, I think, and I mean, a lot of people are saying technology is bad, but I think a lot of ways, technology is neutral. It's how we advance it,
Right.
how we use it, right? Some
Right.
way, yeah. So people thought, having cars over, horse and buggy. Oh my God, it's so bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it depends how we use it. Look at your evolution of this podcast. As you keep doing it, you're gonna get maybe because you're investing all this stuff, right? But one thing I realize is that when something takes off, you can't stop it.
Right.
That's happened to me in my life.
Yeah.
And it happens. Like I don't. We could talk about that too if you like.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a element of just like having a little bit of faith in yourself and like just knowing like as long as I keep doing the things, it'll happen. But also with no expectation of it.
Well, I mean, there's actually a concept I believe in. It's called becoming outcome independent.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the outcome. Just worry about the efforts. Like even when I was running for Surrey City Council, like all I knew is that if I just knock as many doors as I can, okay, I know that's gonna, it doesn't matter if they will open the door or whatever. I just know that if I just gotta worry about what I can control, even in my own business, like I have no idea creatine's gonna sell, but if I know if I sell at this price, this type of packaging, type of branding, and make sure that it's on par with everyone else. Okay, then in terms of quality, then I think I have a good chance. But I'm not. I mean, my expectation, the marketplace determines what's going to happen.
Right.
So same way, that's how you should live your life, right? Like if you think about it, when you say no expectation, meaning that you're independent of the outcome. You can still be nice to people. It doesn't matter if they're nice to you.
Right.
Okay, so
That I think that's the my own mantra with even this podcast is just the question is do I enjoy it, and I thoroughly enjoy it, and also what success looks like in every space is different, and for me it's the conversations, and it is nice to see something progress and grow. It's kind of like my wife with her plumerias and her plants, like she's creating something. It's the essence of creation is the best part. Like I love the fact that after this conversation I'm going to sit down, look at the footage and go like, how can I package this to create some type of positive impact for somebody else? And doing that, like it's having something to create is great. And then when you hear, like you mentioned earlier, the one person who says, hey, I saw that and it really affected me, or I really appreciated that. Like that one person, that was worth the hour of my time.
yeah. Well, I think it comes down to how you make decisions. Okay, so like the way I make decisions is like will I regret not doing it?
Right.
I can't. But there's one more thing I found out that's just as important. Can I live with that regret?
Right.
So I always say to myself, like, if I don't do creatine, will I regret it?
Right.
And I won't be. And if I don't do it, I won't be able to live with myself. Right.
Right.
But it's like so in a lot of ways, it's like think about like say if you're a conquistador, like Columbus coming to America, right? You discover America, you may fail, or they say like early pilgrim. Can you live with that regret?
Right.
So for me, part of it is will I regret not and I remember like when I went on this trip, right? What happened was I got my flight, this trip to Asia, right? Okay, my flight I was at 11 p.m. Okay, and I boarded the plane, and it took 3 hours on the runway, not moving, and then they canceled the flight at 1 a.m. Okay, and they said we'll get a new flight the next day at the same time, 11 p.m. And I said that's too long. I'm gonna try to catch a flight. Okay, there was a Cathay Pacific flight that was at 11 a.m. the next day, right? So I just bought that. I paid full price for that flight because I wanted to not have any regrets for not going.
Right.
Okay, so and all the signs were saying don't go. And in fact I stayed at the airport that night. I didn't want to leave the airport because once I got home, I want to go back to the airport. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and so I wanted to make sure I catch the next flight. Okay, 11 a.m. paid full price, got refunded on my last ticket because it was their fault, right? Okay, and But but the fact that like I knew that I would regret not going. Okay,
Right.
so, and I think part of my decision process is that, I know I don't want to live with regrets. Okay, so like that's what drives me to go to the gym, drives me to to work hard, right? Drives me to travel. In fact, when I ran for city council, like the fact that I didn't try.
Right.
And so even though it's a lot of, because I didn't have name ID, it was only a very short window, 6 hour, 6 week window, right?
Right.
And so I said, no, I have to do it.
Right.
Like, and even my family was like, oh, nice, sure you want to run, but I knew that I wouldn't be able to live with myself with that regret.
Right. And even any type of effort creates momentum that you can parlay into something else too, right? I mean, my first time I ran for school board, I lost. But running to win was what set me up to win the next time. And even if I didn't run the next time, that effort still wouldn't have like disappeared. It's number one, you get something personally out of it. Just like the benefit of all the conversations you have, the confidence of knowing like I ran, like there's so many things. And then it's all about like taking that momentum and shifting it in other places. Same thing with like having a job. Say it's not your forever job, it's not your career job, but getting everything. I think we talked about this in one of the podcasts, Greg, but the milking life's experiences for what it is, and knowing that that is a net positive and a benefit for the next thing that you're going to do. So never just like kind of trying to zombie your way through a chapter, right? Like take everything you can from the experience of the day or whatever you're going through.
Yeah, it's your life.
Yeah.
Might as well make each day the best it can be, right? So like, I think, because somebody asked me what my goal is in life, right? I would say my goal is personal growth, continue to grow, right? Okay, and if you invest in yourself, whatever activity you're doing, it's an investment that's priceless.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
I love it.
I hear a lot of confidence from you, and about, say, you were going to invest in a machine to cut your costs, and this seems like coming from a very, you're not living a life of fear. You have this confidence, and and that whole idea of that I'm going to make this investment, and then my life's going to get better, and we can relate that to everybody's life. They might, have these opportunities in front of them that they don't necessarily take because they don't have that confidence. And maybe you felt like before in your life where you've been in kind of a season of low confidence. And do you have any advice for somebody trying to get out of that? Like someone who's not in that growth mindset, how can they... Is there like a simple practice they can do, or a kind of a way to look at it?
I always say to myself, like, I mean, everyone has been through a lot of nonsense in their life. Like, you've been through a lot of nonsense, unbelievable. Yeah. Your personal story is amazing. I'm sure you've been through a lot of nonsense in your life. People who hated on you, who doubted you, right?
Greg still gets comments on the YouTube.
So look at your life, right? Okay, and you're still here today.
Yeah.
You're still here at this moment. Okay, and I think about like everyone. I even think about like, so you can think about anybody historically, right? The fact that they push forward, right? Okay, like my son asked me, like, what is the root of your confidence, Dad? And to answer his question, answer your question, Greg, is I won't stop. I am not going to stop. Okay, and then I think Winston Churchill said this. Even though I don't like Winston Churchill that much, but he did say this. He said that if you're going through hell, keep going. Okay, so like, but anyways, just don't stop. Don't stop until you get it. Nah, because the minute you stop, that's when everything stops. Okay, so you have to keep going. Okay, and that means that, like, for me, I'm not, I know that this business, Hearty Foods, I'm not going to stop till I achieve my goals. That's it. And that could be in weightlifting, that could be in trying to get through college, get through high school, right? I'm not going to stop until I achieve what I want to achieve.
And so for you, say not making that investment in the business, you would look at that as stopping.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, and I can't.
You can't stop.
Can't
yeah.
do that.
And also, it's okay to make mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
but don't make them twice.
Okay.
Okay. So if you make the same mistake, it goes back to having the same problems over and over again, right? Okay. Don't have the same problems over and over again.
Because you had the problems with the bags before.
Yeah, that's right. So like,
you
don't
want to fix that.
Yeah, I want to fix that. Right? Okay, so it's becomes very obvious for me, right? So like, okay, and even if we're talking about even personal, like if you're late all the time, all that matters is the next day. Don't be late the next day. Okay, I mean, so like, well, whatever that issue is that you're having, just fix it the next round. Okay, so like, even when my employees say I made a mistake and I packed it incorrectly, I said, just do you learn from it? Yes. Okay, don't do it again.
There you go.
That's it. And that's you should do that in your own personal life, right? And you have to look at problems in a very different way, right? Either problems are doing two things, right? They're trying to correct behavior, or are they trying to like if you're a thief, okay, you keep stealing, right? Okay, then you may go to jail. That's a problem, right? Okay, so it's trying to correct your behavior. Okay, that's
Be
one.
a better thief.
Yeah, or be a better thief, or
Don't get caught. Is that where we're going?
No,
That's
but
not what he meant.
but eventually you got to get caught. It's a road to nowhere, right? Okay.
Right.
Okay, and or some sort of like a greater problem, like for example, like Martin Luther King. His problem was, trying to destroy racism in this country, right? So some way, like you have that problem is some way it's a great problem to have that you're trying to solve. Okay,
Right.
so you look at it's how you see your problem, right? Look at this problem as a way of like of teaching you something and how to overcome it. Okay, then you can
Right.
move on from that to have another problem.
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah. I think a lot of it is how you see the world as in terms of ownership and victimhood. Like, so whatever problem, like you take ownership.
Good point. Well said, yeah.
And knowing that, like, okay, this is mine to solve, but then also being able to decide, like, what is not your problem to solve or what is not within your control.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when people have problems, it has to do with somebody else's behavior, somebody else's, and you really have
Correct.
to identify, is this something within the realm of my authority or responsibility?
Yeah, I guess it's called framing.
Right.
It's how you frame it.
Right.
Okay, if you frame it in a way, and also don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah.
If you make a mistake, doesn't mean that you have to live with that mistake.
Right.
Just move forward. Okay,
Right.
whatever that is, right?
Yeah, and don't buy your own bullshit. So when you own a gym for 10 years and you're helping somebody with something as personal as their own health goals or weight loss, I used to tell people, just don't buy your own bullshit. It'd be something as simple as, I didn't go to work out because my alarm didn't go off. It wasn't my fault. My alarm didn't go off. It's like,
Oh, good
okay,
point,
you
good
just
point.
you're just one step away from taking ownership and
Yeah.
responsibility. It's you're responsible
That's
for
right.
setting your life.
That's
Know,
right.
but there's so many examples of that, and people will put that layer of victimhood or that layer
Good
of
point.
detachment from the behavior. It's like, no, just take that leap and just know, like, you have ownership over what happened.
And the way you know that, if you did that, is you made sure your alarm's working the next day.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So if then you took ownership of that.
Right,
Okay. If it happens again, then it's your fault.
right.
Right. That's your nature.
Yeah.
Your nature. You got to correct the nature. Yeah.
Riaz, I always love talking with you, man. Come back again. I appreciate you. Thank you. Oh, you should do a. I want to see what your 15-second.
Okay. Hearty Foods, creatine, single ingredient. Just one ingredient, micronized, 100 servings, 500 grams per bag, and you can take 5 to 10 grams as you like, and it's the same quality, same ingredients at a lower price. Visit Hearty Foods on Amazon or visit on heartyfoods.com.
Sweet, man, nailed it.
This was a great pod to kick off the new year.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
I'm so grateful to be able to go into the new year with this kind of good attitude that you showed us today. This kind of problem-solving wisdom that you have.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Riaz. Thank you, man. I appreciate you very much.
Okay.